Hi, this is my new Spike Brewing brew kettle. It's a 30-gallon kettle. It's about 24 inches tall and I think it's about 20 and a half wide. Getting it ready for the first use here. As you can see, it has a graded scale on the inside like all. I chose the Spike Brewing because they use slightly thicker metal and they weld on their fittings. Welded on the inside and outside both. And they do custom welding. This is a 2-inch tri-clamp valve I had custom welded on there. And they're welded on the inside too. It has tri-clad bottom. I don't know the thickness of the metal offhand, but the 30-gallon one like this is slightly thicker than the 20-gallon ones and the smaller ones. But it uses good thick stainless steel. And we're getting ready for first use. I'll maybe add on a little more later after I fire it up and see how it goes. Alright, it's the next day, Sunday. I brewed up a batch yesterday. Let it cook for about 3 hours at 150 degrees. I put aluminum foil around the valves at the bottom just to keep the heat from the burner from heating them up too much. After sitting overnight, it's cooled down to about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm doing this in my garage because it's winter time. You can see the drill motor on the top right there. I put this stir wand on the drill motor so it stirs constantly while cooking. I found this thing, probably because the larger open lid made it easier to maintain temperature with the metal burner set to low flame. I was able to hold it right around 155 degrees for about 3 hours straight. That's the mash in there. Now I'm going to take the mash out and put it into two 15-gallon fermenters. This is a whole grain mash. For base I use whole grain animal sweet feed mix that you can get at any like Tractor Supply store or any large animal feed store. And then I add other things to it, like some cornmeal, and other things. You can experiment and add whatever you want. I like to bring up the corn level a bit with some cornmeal. I add honey, a couple jars of honey from a local honey producer. And then I ferment it as a whole grain mixture. I don't separate the grains out until after I've fermented. Why? I don't know. I just like doing it that way. And why do I not bring it to a boil? Well, I read somewhere that you don't want to go above 168 degrees Fahrenheit because it's bad for the mash. It does something to the cellular deal of the whole grains. I don't know. That's what I read. But anyways, worked really well. I'm happy with this kettle. It's really worked good. Alright, so after cooking the mash for 3 hours and letting it sit overnight to cool, I put it into the two mash tuns I have. These are 60-quart igloo coolers that I've modified into mash tuns, which means they hold about 15 gallons each. I put a hole in the top. You can see the black silicone around the hole there. That's where some of the cup holders are on the top of these things. And then I stick a fish tank aquarium heater down into the hole, set to about 75 degrees to maintain the temperature of the mash while it's fermenting. And then after about 24 hours of fermentation, I stir in about 1.5 pounds of sugar every morning and every night. And I keep the fermentation going for about 2 weeks this way. I bring the alcohol content up to, around 14% or so. And it gives me better yield before it goes into the still, or when it comes out of the still, I guess you'd say. Alright, that's it. Alright, one little last addition here. This is the brew kettle, Spike brew kettle, 30 gallons. After first use, and it cleaned up beautifully. Just, rinse it out, and wow, look at that, no burning on the bottom. So this is the first time I've used a tri-clad bottom brew kettle. In the past, I've always been using a modified beer keg for brewing my beer in, and it would burn on the bottom very easy, and you had to be really careful about that because you can't get that burn taste out of your product too easily. So this thing worked beautifully with no burning whatsoever, cleans up beautifully. So now I'm a big fan of tri-clad bottoms. Alright, that's all. Oh, by the way, this thing wasn't cheap either. $460 with that modified welding fitting on there. 2-inch tri-clamp. They have a lot of nice configurations. You should check out their website. I give it a 2 thumbs up. Thank you. That's all.